All right. Hello, everyone on YouTube. We are here live on Elevate Your Leadership Thursday. My name is Paul Croto, and I am here with Cheryl Worley. Say hi, Cheryl.
Hello. I'm super excited to be here.
Let me actually start this whole thing over here. We'll record on this computer as well. Okay, great. So we're live on YouTube. We are live. We are here in Zoom. So if you want to join us in Zoom, we're at elevatezoom.com. Every Thursday. If you want to join us live, you can ask questions in the chat as we go along. And this is the Elevate Your Leadership podcast, which we're coming to you every Thursday. And this is an exciting day of the week, isn't it, Cheryl?
It really is. Super exciting. Leadership.
Now, we are teaching right now out of the John Maxwell book, The 15 Laws of Growth. And my gosh, this should be the very first book every single human being reads. I mean, it is so good, and it actually teaches you how to learn. So really, reading other books, you don't get the most out of them and don't grow as much as you could if you don't apply these 15 laws. So I'm totally ecstatic to be able to bring these laws to you, and Cheryl and I are going to do our very, very best to bring you this law today. But as most of you know, Cheryl and I have a formula that we live life by. And that formula is plan, do, review. So I'm very good on the plan side. Cheryl is extremely good on the do portion, which is very, very, very important. But my favorite part of the whole thing is reflection, the review part, looking back, because that is where, and I think I got this as a young kid with listening to Tony Robbins, where he would go to these Jim Rohn conventions and all these different personal growth things. And, everyone would kind of like, oh, meeting's over. So everyone would close their book and go out and party or go to dinner or whatever. But he went back to his hotel room and ripped apart everything and reviewed it. Everything he said today, reflected on all of it. And that's where he got all of his insights. And people think that Tony Robbins is one of the smartest people on the planet, which he probably is. But how did he get that way? He did it all through reflection, because he thought about what that just happened. I think everything that John Maxwell talks about, all the very, brilliant things that he comes up with, is all because of reflection. He thinks about, geez, what happened there? And then he gains some sort of insight, and that insight is just gold. And he shares that with people. And that's why he's considered the best of the best. So Cheryl, the law of reflection. Tell us about it.
Yes, I love it. Well, reflection is all about learning to pause, which is hard for me. I will say, but it allows growth to catch up with you, which I thought was so awesome, the way that he said that and the way that he put that. So it's all about, I believe do, but taking that moment to reflect or to review, so that growth that you are having can catch up to you, which I really enjoyed. I love that.
I love our first bullet point here, Cheryl. It says that reflection turns experience into insight.
Yeah.
Wow. We should go ahead and bold that one, because that is, we have all these experiences in life, but did we ever get anything out of that? What did we learn from that? And that's the real key to it. So to hear is a good thing. And to reject is a great thing. It says in the notes here, to reflect is a great thing. Let me just change that right now. Again, it's going back to that thing I just mentioned earlier, that hearing is a good thing. Going to all these personal growth things, hearing you probably on YouTube, and I'll listen to all kinds of different podcasts, and you're hearing it, but are you reflecting on it? And that's where the real growth happens, is during the time where the whole thing finishes, and you can go back and say, what did I really get out of that? And I love, Cheryl, one of the things I do when I'm doing any type of personal growth is I ask myself at the very end, what's the most valuable thing? Because I got a lot of notes, a lot of nuggets out of that, but what was the one most important thing I got out of that 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it was? And that's really helped me a lot in using that in real life. It's not just enough to learn it, but you got to use it. That's the real key.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And that's, it's so, when I was, I'm not sure how we missed reflection last week, but it's so interesting to me because when I take time, when I stop the doing and take the time to review or reflect, I feel like nothing's getting done. And in fact, we're learning now that is the most important time that you can, that you can take. You've got to take that time to reflect. And I love that he says what you do after you hear the lesson is the most important part, right? And that is the reflection that takes place. You were just talking a little bit about that. And it's the place to pause. You have to have a place to think. And I love that he told the story about his thinking chair, right? He has a specific place. And he told the bird story, and it's like my favorite story. I love the bird story.
Tell us the bird story, Cheryl.
Okay, well, so there were two friends, and they and one said, okay, I have he said, I'll make a bet with you that within 1 year you'll buy a bird. And he's like, buy a bird? I'm not buying a bird. Why on earth would I buy a bird? I've never even wanted a bird. And he said, okay, well, I want to make a bet with you. And he's like, fine, I'll make a bet with you. And he said, there's one stipulation, and that's that I'm going to get you a birdhouse or a bird cage, and you have to hang that bird cage up in a place in your house that's very noticeable. Everybody can see it. You can see it all the time. And he's like, oh, okay. So he bought his friend a beautiful bird cage.
Like the Taj Mahal of bird cages, yeah.
That's right. Absolutely beautiful. And he hung it up right when you came in the door. So there it is. There's the bird cage. Everybody could see it. So everyone would come over to his house and say, oh my gosh, what a beautiful bird cage. That is so awesome. Just wonderful. And then well, where's your bird? And he said, oh, no, I don't have a bird. And, well, what do you mean you don't have a bird? Oh, did the bird die? No, how could the bird die if I don't have a bird? I didn't have a live bird. How could I have a dead bird? So I don't have a bird. And so that went on and on and on and on. And after 6 months of
all his friends came over, kept on asking him.
Yeah, a beautiful bird cage and on and on. He finally, in the 7th month, went out and bought a bird. and so John said he thought about this. And the reason he bought a bird is because he had a for the bird. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, for the bird. And so that's when he thought it was important to have a place to reflect. Because you will, if you have a place to reflect, then you will do it.
Exactly. So as soon as I heard this, I paused it, and Cheryl and I, we went online and looked for the best recliners available. We're all ordering new chairs, new thinking chairs. So we have a place to think. I think that's a brilliant thing. And I made me think about that. And I don't have a thinking chair. I don't have a place that I go to. That's like my go-to place to do that. And I think it's a great idea. I think you don't necessarily even go out and buy a new chair, but just pick a spot in your home, someplace that would be a great place to think. And maybe someplace, that you can close the door and have a couple minutes to reflect, because it's so valuable. So as if you've been following this podcast, you know that Cheryl and I own and run the Institute of Holistic Health. And we have thousands of health coaches that are certified. And what we do every Tuesday, which is only for people who are taking the course and in the program, is really reflection day. So we go to, we have a day where we all meet together, all the coaches, and we talk about what's happened over the past 7 days. And there's always 3 things that we cover. We cover celebrations. So we always want to point to the good things first. We want to make sure our brains are looking for the good, the wins. The second thing we do is what are the challenges? So we have celebrations, challenges, and then when you have a challenge, the first thing you want to think about is, what do I need to change to overcome this challenge? So we spend a little bit of time on the problem, a lot of time on the solution. So those calls, Cheryl, I think are one of the best calls we do during the week, just because of the reflection we get out of that, the insight we get out of that. And, we just see people making massive progress and continual progress consistently because of the Tuesday review or reflection calls.
Yeah, I love it too, because we're in a community. And so maybe if we don't have that problem, or if we do, and somebody else brings it up and coach them, and then it just helps all of us, right? It helps all of us get better. And maybe even if you don't have that problem, somebody, on your team could, or a client that you have could have that problem too. So I just think that it is so helpful for everyone to come in a community and be able to reflect and hear how everybody's doing that week. I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to do it in our own lives, like every single day, I take some time and I reflect. And the thing I reflect on most, and what I encourage everyone else to do, is to think of the three things today that happened good. And I think I wrote it down here in the notes. Is that, three things that you did today or that happened today. So I love that feeling at the end of the day where I think back at those three things. So basically what this portion of our podcast is covering is that reflection is like having a drink to enjoy. Who doesn't like to have a drink to enjoy? So what that analogy is you're sitting in your chair, you're pouring this drink. It's not really a drink, but it's you're putting something in the glass. Like you're asking a question like, what happened? What are the three things that happened great today? What are the three great things I did today? And then you're going to get something out of that. When you ask a question like that, you're going to get something good out of that. And that's the beauty of reflection is to be able to pull that insight out that you wouldn't have had you not done that. So what I'm going to put in is what I'm going to take out is what the key takeaway is from that. The other thing John talked about in this chapter is having the meeting before the meeting. So every single time before we do a podcast, Cheryl and I meet, and we go over concepts, we bounce it back and forth off each other. And we have an hour or two meeting before we even do the podcast when we do them. And then we do the podcast. And then as soon as this is over with, we have a meeting after the meeting. So we always go back and say, hey, during that podcast, what went good? What didn't go so good? And what can we change to make next week a little bit better? I mean, we don't spend a lot of time on that, sometimes more than others. But as long as we can get some insight on that, we're going to make each podcast better than the last one. So whatever it is in your life, whether it's your day, whether it's a meeting that you were just at, it's just taking that little bit of time to reflect. And usually asking those three questions is the best. What was something that great happened out of that? What was a challenge that I had, and what kind of change can I make tomorrow to make tomorrow a little bit better than today? And this is the whole elevate concept. We're not about perfection. We're about progress, but we're obsessed with progress because we understand that real happiness really only happens when you're making progress. You can buy things and do things and will make you happy for the moment, but real happiness, true happiness comes from progress, and true progress comes from elevating. And happiness is the end all be all. I mean, that's where we all want to get to, is that place of being happy. And I just think a lot of us, me included, we go through life. We're always looking for, what else do I need to do? What's the problem? What's the solution? And we don't take enough time to reflect on the good things that are happening. So it's so important for all of us to take time. Every morning I write in my gratitude journal, so that I can think back and say, thank God for, I'm so grateful that this happened in the past 24 hours. And every single morning I think of something new that I didn't write before. So sometimes it takes me a minute or two to think about, but it makes me think small, and be grateful for the little things in life and recognize those little things. Otherwise I wouldn't have done that had I not taken the few minutes to do that. So do we lose Cheryl?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay.
Yes. Hi.
I can't see you. Maybe you're not spotlight anymore. There we go. Okay. Outstanding. Okay, Cheryl, we just talked about the meeting before the meeting that you love, and the meeting after the meeting is that your absolute favorite.
Oh yeah. I really do like all those.
Now, John also talks about every year in December, John spends 5 days going through the year. So my 5 days is the 13th through the 17th, where I'll be going back through literally every single week, every single month, quarter of the year, and asking myself those three questions. What went good? And a lot of great things happened here. I can tell you already in 2021, fantastic things. My list is a mile long of great accomplishments that I've had. Have I had some challenges? Absolutely. Everyone has challenges. So I got I got rid of all the challenges, the things that I wish went a little bit better in 2021. And then, of course, I spend time on what do I need to change in 2022? Because the whole game is making 2022 better than 2021. That's all you got to do. It's all about elevating. So, Cheryl, talk to us about great coaches that make adjustments. That's the next section here that I know you're big into tennis and that things are happening during the match, and you're like, hey, I gotta make a change here, make an adjustment to beat this person that I'm against.
Right. And sorry, I have to leave my camera off because for some reason I have really bad Wi-Fi and I don't know why, but I have to leave it off. So I apologize about that.
I must be sucking all your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you are, because you are the one with it and I don't have it.
We're on the same floor.
See how we're on the same. Yeah, it's like crazy. But something that I really liked is that that the game plan always looks fantastic before the game starts. And I love that because we all have, I have the best plan ever, right? For my tennis match or for my tennis game or for any part of my life, really, right? You have to have like the rule book, the playbook. You have to know what you're doing. And I just love that it says it always looks good. But it's interesting that if you just stick to the plan, whether it's working or not, well, then you will lose, right? Because if it's not working, you will lose. And that's what I think that he talked about, the importance of having that halftime adjustment, right? The halftime saying, hey, what happened? What was fantastic about the first part? What are some little things that we need to do to change? How can we do this? How can we do that? I need to make sure I do this. Whenever I play tennis, and here's another thing I think is important, especially when you're in a game situation, you've got to read the other team. What are they doing? You've got to read the other player. Like what are they good at? How are they good? My whole goal is never to get beat the same time on a ball, right? So they're the same way. So if somebody switches or does the same exact thing, I better be there the second time because it's already happened to me the first time. I've already lost a point the first time. That better never happen to me again in that same way. And how would I do that unless I reflected on, hey, I have to make sure that I know, how the other person is playing or how the other team's playing. And so having that reflection is essential, right? In every aspect of our lives.
Oh, it goes even for your day. It's having a game plan for your day. Trust me, I have a game plan every morning that doesn't always work out. So I love what John says about you lose the game because you didn't make halftime adjustments, not because your initial game plan was bad. It's not an initial game plan. It's bad. What's bad is I didn't make adjustments throughout the day based on all the things that were happening. So the adjustments, those happen based on reflection, though. And that it's that taking time to see, hey, you can even stop in the middle of your day at noon or 1 o'clock and say, hey, how are things going today? Am I on track? If I'm not on track, let's get on track, because you can't let both halves go astray, and so it's super, super important to be reflective throughout the day even and see how's my day going and do I need to make any adjustments here in the afternoon. The next part here is you can't figure out how to get to where you want until you know where you are. And this is one of those things where you're at the mall and you're like, I got to find. So Cheryl and I had a big discussion about the order of this. So I always look for where I want to go. And then I look back and figure out where I am now, because you can't get there unless you know where you are. So on those mall maps. But Cheryl, you do it differently. You always look for the where I'm at right now, and then where I want to go.
Yes, because there's usually more than one store I want to go to. So if I know where I am, then I can figure out which store is closest and then work my way.
That's that. See, you didn't tell me that part before. That's brilliant.
Well, I thought about it. It's the reflection, Paul.
Yeah, it is the reflection, because now I get it. I'm like, well, that's odd. I would never do it that way. But that's very, very, that's just genius, Cheryl.
There you go. I love that John says that reflection is a map to study. So I love that. That's so true, right? I mean, and I think it's so interesting that we're doing this today. And I've been thinking about it as we were preparing and getting ready. And I'm trying to figure out, like in my mind, like why I never want to reflect, like why I don't want to stop, why I don't have any, I can't think of any reason why you would stop and think about what you've done, but the important part is reflecting on all of it. And I always tended to reflect on only the bad things that were happening. And I would just and I wouldn't think about or even consider any of the good things that were happening. So if I sat for a moment to reflect on anything, only bad things that happened would come into my mind, right? Only bad things that, oh, this went bad or that went bad. So I just decided I don't want to do that, right? I just want to keep going. And so I think being able to
do that for
say,
good
hey,
and bad things, right, Cheryl?
Yeah, that's right. Looking at the good and the bad, I think makes a huge difference for me. But I have to make myself remember the good, because that doesn't come easy or natural for me.
Yeah, I don't think it comes natural easy for anybody. I mean, we just, the way our minds work is it's always looking for what's wrong. What's wrong? What do I need to do to stay, in this box? So it's just a natural reaction. So we have to train our minds and consciously go look for the good, because there's a lot of great out there.
Right.
But I love Cheryl, how John talks about how to keep the journal. And when you're writing to ask these questions. And the first question is, what did I feel?
Yeah.
I think that's,
I always,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I always stop there. Yeah. But I do always know how I felt at different times in my life. Feeling for me is about everything, right? That's how it is. I feel this, or I felt that, or I feel this way. But I love that John goes on with a couple of other things that we need to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I recently heard a Tony Robbins recording on how emotions, especially negative ones, are sending us a signal, which I thought was a really different way of looking at things. So if you feel a certain way, and we talk about this in health and wellness, like if a mother will call me in the middle of the day and be like, oh my God, my child has a super high temperature, what should I do? And I'm like, that's a great thing. It's your body's protective mechanism and defense system on there's something bad going on. There's something that's foreign, and your body heats up and kills that whatever it is. And you're healthy again. It's how you stay healthy. Same thing with inflammation. If you sprain your ankle or something, it's kind of like an airbag system your body has that protects that area. And you think, oh my God, my ankle's swollen. Like it's actually super. It means your body's working correctly. So we look at things that
It's 3:30
that happen as being bad when they're really super good. I mean, it's working the way it's supposed to. So what did I feel is so good to ask and be able to reflect on that. But if you stop there, there's a problem, because, we talked about before, especially on Elevate Your Mindset Mondays, where we talk about not just going on your emotions, but thinking that through. So the second question is, what do I think? So you want to always check your heart. How do you feel? And you always go to your mind. What do you think? And then you end with, what do I know? So you want to take something from that and make it part of your belief system. And that is the end all be all, is your belief system. Your core beliefs run your entire life. So before I put anything into my core belief system, I got to ask myself, how did that feel? Then I ask my brain, what do I think about that? And then I ask, what do I know? What's going to be in my belief system? And the last part, Cheryl, is reflection is wisdom to share.
Yeah, I love that. And I really love this whole idea of that reflection allows us to elevate too. I mean, that's really what it will do. And I love that at the very start we said that if we reflect, or when we do reflect, it allows the growth to catch up to us. And that's so true. I mean, that's really what it does. It allows us, yes, to change things that aren't working, and to realize, right, that there's some different things that may work better, but it's really allowing that growth to catch up. And then that elevates us and, puts us on a higher level, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Cheryl and I, our whole goal is to bring value to you. We started this podcast to add value to other people, to elevate them, to make their lives better. And we couldn't do that if we didn't reflect as much as we do. Like Cheryl and I are reflecting all the time and talking about topics and things that are happening, and just reflecting on them so that we can gain some wisdom from that. Now, gaining wisdom from that is great, but gaining wisdom and then sharing it with the rest of the world is really great. And that's what we do. And I'm sure a lot of people message us all the time and say, "Oh, that podcast was phenomenal," or "That was awesome," and the reason why it was so good is because we spent so much time reflecting on things in the past that we're able to bring the wisdom and share it with you during these podcasts. So it's not that Cheryl and I are super brilliant or super smart or whatever. We just spent a lot of time reflecting and talking things through to come up with these insights. And Cheryl, John talked about, and I know this is something big for you, that no matter how far you come, you have to remember where you came from.
Yeah, I love that. And he told a little story. Oh, go ahead.
When you look at your success, Cheryl, you see yourself this mega successful woman. But I think in our minds, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of look at, well, I really didn't make a lot of progress since last month or yesterday or whatever kind of time frame you're using. But if you go from where you are now to where you started, I mean, you've come 700 million miles.
Right. And the interesting thing is day by day, you can't really tell, right? You cannot really tell. So it's like, just get 1% better every single day. And over years, because it's not all of a sudden, right? But over the years, then you will get better and better and better and better. And it's just so fascinating the way it works. I love that penny doubled every day.
Yeah.
I love that I love that whole idea.
Powerful exercise. But just today, so Cheryl and I also run something called the Keto 90 Kickstart program, which is a weight loss program. And it's kind of a special day because we have a couple of people. I know Ben showed us a picture this morning. Ben Morley is Cheryl's brother, and he, oh my gosh, like his face is like this big. I mean, it's just huge. And to see where he came from and now where he is now is just amazing. Now, maybe if he just looked at a picture from a week ago or a month ago, he wouldn't see the difference. But when you know where you came from, that's where you can see the big difference. I also saw a picture of Caroline online today from a retreat that we did 1 year ago today. Yes,
I cannot believe it.
Wow.
I said, no, sir. That is not Caroline.
Yeah. So it's just great to know where we came from and puts things in perspective. So I know, listen to a great Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He did an interview and he said all the time, every time I do another movie or whatever thing I do, TV show, I always remember where I came from. When my back was against the wall. His story basically was he got injured in the Canadian Football League. He was making like $250 a week Canadian, and broke his leg, had to come home. His dad picked him up from the airport, and Dwayne looked in his wallet and he had $7 in his wallet. So his whole business now is called $7. That's actually what he named his business. So it's just remembering where you came from so you can put in perspective how far you've come. I just think that's a great point that we want everyone to remember and use in your daily life. Cheryl, talk to us about, and this is a good one here. You're not as bad as your lower moments. In that section there.
Yeah, I think this is so interesting. So that's all about you aren't as bad as you think you are in those low moments. But then the other thing that I think is really interesting is he says, and you're not as good as you think you are in your higher moments. So at your best, you're not as good as you think you are. And at your lowest, you're not as bad as you think you are. So he said that you need to stay right in the middle, right? So it's just you think of yourself as right in the middle. And I really like that, right? And so, and then he's talking about just about how it's important to always, and he didn't say stay humble or anything like that, but he was just saying, that it's just important to do that too. And that you aren't, because I think we all tend to, if we've done something or haven't done something, we tend to feel bad about ourselves and, oh my gosh, and we have a low moment and things we've done we don't want anybody to know about and all of these things, right? But I just love that whole idea of you're not as bad as you think you are.
Yeah.
And then, it's I love it.
This is something I really had to work on myself personally. Because when I would get in those bad, low moments, I would just think the whole world's falling apart and, it's all over with. Just mail it in. And then there's other times where I did something so amazing. I got, champagne and streamers and all kinds of stuff going on of how great I am, and so I'm like one or two of these extremes. It seems like a lot in the past, but I become aware of that and I'm staying in the middle now. Like I'm not, when something bad happens, I remind myself, it isn't as bad as it seems. And then, but when I get something great, like I don't want to blow up to where I'm not staying in the middle, and when you hit those two extremes that you run into problems. So we always want to put things in perspective, I think is the key phrase there. So I want to end these notes by talking about the 5 types of reflection. So like I said, I do daily reflection every single day. At the end of the day, I ask myself, what are the 3 things that really went good today? I also ask, what are some 3 things that didn't go so good today? Well, I wish I would have, maybe I didn't get all my water that day, or I missed this or that or that or that. I didn't get, as many phone calls made that day as I was planning to make in the beginning of the day. So there's always 3 great things. There's always 3 challenges every single day of my life that I realize. And then what changes am I going to make tomorrow to make tomorrow better than today? And just doing that small exercise takes me like 10 minutes to do at the end of the day. It's made my life just elevate. Every single day I elevate because of those 3 questions I ask at the end of every day. Then I do a weekly reflection. And the weekly review is something that changed my life. I actually read a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. And it is just a great book. And he turned me on to this weekly review concept. And it changed my life when I did that, to look back at the last 7 days. I love the way everything's set up. There's 7 days and there's 52 weeks in a year. So you can really, a week matters. Like you can do some significant things in a week. So to look back at that, to check the compass, if your goal is to see a sunset, you want to check the compass to make sure you're heading west. It does not matter how hard you're working, how fast you're running. If you're heading east, you're not going to see the sunset. So you got to check to see, am I making progress? Am I going in the right direction? If you're not, you got to make a change. And then I do a monthly reflection. So I look at the past, I looked at 4 weeks, do a monthly reflection on how good did this month go? I just finished my October reflection. What are the great things that happened in October? What are the challenges I had during the month of October? And what am I going to do to make November better than October was? I do a quarterly reflection. So there's after every 3 months, I do a reflection, looking back at my monthlies, the 3 monthlies. And then at the end of the year, I mentioned that I'll be doing a yearly reflection for 5 days that basically looks back at the 4 quarters of the year and I go again over the great things that happened this year, the not so great things that happened, the challenges that I ran into in 2021, and then what I'm going to change to make 2022 better than 2021 was. So that's the process I go through. And I know it sounds like it's a lot, but you can obviously do things on whatever scale you want to. But if you take this law of reflection seriously, your whole life will change, because this is where all the value is at, is in looking back and saying, learning from the good, learning, realizing what is not going so good. And then obviously making those changes is everything. Okay, let's, I don't know if you need to add to that, Cheryl. We want to go and take some questions or comments. You can, if you're here in the Zoom, and again, you can go to elevatezoom.com and join us. The password to get in is Elevate, every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And if you do that, you get to participate in asking questions and coming on live. And we take questions about what we just went over, or comments, whatever you want to say. We just ask that you raise your hand to say that. So I got the participants up here. Anybody have any comments?
I just think it's really important, Paul, I know it's hard for some people. It's very hard to reflect and to do that. For others, it might come easier, but really just stick to what we're saying. Ask those 3 questions, keep a gratitude journal. All of those things will help you get into the habit of reflection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we got a bunch of hands up now, Cheryl. Let's go to Verna.
Awesome. Hello, Verna.
Hello there. I wanted to find out now. I love John Maxwell. And years ago, I had an opportunity to spend a whole day with him at an event. So he's just down to earth. He's just a down to earth man. He makes things easy to understand. He just puts it in simple terms. So I love him. So my question is about the book and how we're following his, I don't know, I guess, are we following this information that he has on the back of the book where you can download something, Paul?
Yes,
Cheryl?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we're downloading this material, and this is the process that you are following, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, because I think I read okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, just so, I don't know if you caught that, but we were out of order. So we're actually going backwards now.
Yes.
Because we missed this law of reflection.
Yeah, because, okay, very good.
Yeah, I know everyone was a bit confusing, but we're back on track now.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's go over to Debbie now.
Now that I'm pausing to reflect on what I'm doing, and I got a better tracking system, I'm learning a lot about what to do better and to, do my business in a more optimal way. So reflection is really important. And it's interesting on that one concept where you want to stay neutral. The reason being is what you want to do is, stay in the middle. You want to stay neutral because you want to keep your emotions neutral to the highs and lows.
Yeah.
Because that will make you think better and follow through.
Exactly. Can't think too well when you're really down or when you're super high. The best thinking happens in the middle. So that's a great point. Debbie, thank you for bringing that up.
Well, you're welcome.
Anybody else have any comments on the law of reflection? I know Becca's always got a comment or two on these laws.
Yes, I do have a comment on this, and it goes back to a previous session that we had that had to do with the cookie jar and making sure that you're adding those things to the cookie jar, because there's days.
You need to go back to the cookie jar and look at it. Look what's in there.
And include that reflection.
Yeah. Excellent point. Cookie jar is my favorite thing. Thank you, Becca. Caroline.
Yeah, I love the adjustments part where you even going throughout your day, or you think you have your whole week all scheduled out, and then boy, if you don't take some time to see how that day went and did all of those timings of everything go together, and you don't make adjustments. And I love adjusting. Adjusting is the best thing ever.
Yeah. And I know you're a big sports fan, and during any game out there, it's the team that makes the best adjustments that wins. And that's the same in life. You just gotta know that it's important to have that initial game plan. We keep on talking about having that initial game plan for the day, but to not make adjustments throughout it is how you're going to lose the day and lose the week and lose the month.
Right. Yeah. I just love that. It's just so critical. And I mean, that just helps you stay there in the middle, because then you have your compass and you're all ready to go, and you can just keep going.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Caroline, for bringing that up. Okay, Becca, you mentioned that, let's see here, Sue's comment. So we'll go back to Sue's comment here. At times, it's also helpful to remind family where you were and where you are. So that's good to share that, with your family, with your friends, and that creates amazing conversations. Okay, let's go to Lorenzo.
Hello, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Okay, I just want to confirm that about the reflections. The thing you were saying, Paul and Cheryl, about them is what went good for the day, the week, the month, the quarter, and the year. Then what during that time, what went bad, and what changes need to be made, correct?
That's it.
Okay. I just want to make sure I got that down right, so I know to do that, because I think this is a big part of progressing and whatnot, and so I want to make sure I'm following it.
It is the absolute key to progress, and progress is the absolute key to happiness, and happiness is the end-all be-all place that we all want to get to. So that's how important this is.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Excellent job. Thank you, Lorenzo. All right, Cheryl, I think we did an amazing job. I don't think we have any questions left, and we're ahead of schedule. It's just who we are.
Yes, absolutely. This was a fun call, Paul. It really is something will make a huge difference in my life.
Absolutely. And we'll spend some time reflecting on this this evening. So hope everybody spends some time reflecting on this podcast today. And really, it's not enough to come to these and just hear it. You got to do it, and really just be like, oh, that was a great podcast. And that's the whole point of this thing, is that we go to these meetings, we go to these classes, we read these books, we do all these things, these great things, but we just close it and leave and then forget about it, and that's where there's no gain out of it. You have to spend that time reflecting, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. So we encourage you to spend some time right after this call, reflecting on this call and what you got out of it, and how you're going to apply this to your life is the real key. Do you have any final comments, Cheryl?
Nope, just that I'm excited to start doing this a little bit more and better.
Awesome.
And I love that it's like laid out. There's a plan laid out for me to do that, which is super important for me when and he said, I love when he said it. I just remembered something when he said, people don't want to write things down very much about their life because they might have to write pages and pages and pages. And he said, but believe me, your life is not that exciting. So you won't have pages and pages and pages to write.
Yeah.
You can just write a few things. So I really
Absolutely.
like that.
And I do want to encourage everyone, as we talked about having a place to reflect. I think that was a great point during this call. One of the things we didn't talk about, though, is not just a place to sit and reflect, but where you're actually going to write down what you're reflecting on. So Cheryl and I use this device called the Remarkable. Actually, it's a Remarkable 2. And it's kind of like an electronic writing pad. So you can write on that. And I actually you can create a notebook, and I call it Reflection. So everything that I'm reviewing always goes into the same notebook. You can do it in something called Evernote. You can do it in doing digitally and in Notion. I mean, there's a lot of different, there's a million diary. I think there's one called Day One or something diary if you're a Mac user. There's all kinds of things out there. It's just picking one that you feel comfortable with. If you like writing, you might want to do it the old fashioned way and get out a real journal and sit there with pen and paper. That is super powerful, and you look back at those journals, and those will become treasures of yours over the years. So you can do it on paper, you can do it online or offline, either way, but I would pick a home today that you're going to journal and have all these thoughts in one place. So you can always look back there. If you do it on, no piece of paper here and there, they're going to get lost and it's not going to mean as much to you as having one place that's super organized that you're doing this journaling at. So with that, have a great weekend, everybody. We are actually going to take next week off and celebrate the Marine's birthday. Every year it's November 10th. So I'm going to celebrate being a Marine. And then November 11th is Veterans Day. So with all that going on, plus Cheryl and I are going to take a week off to not just reflect, but to recharge, which is another R word that is we like a lot. Right, Cheryl?
Yes, it's very necessary.
Yep. Reflect and recharge. Awesome. So we're going to do that next week. And then we'll be back here the following Monday on this podcast doing Elevate Your Mindset. So that'll be exciting to do that and be back with all of you. So until then, we hope all of you have an amazing weekend, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
God bless
Awesome,
you.
guys. Really appreciate
Great
you.
Great info.
You too. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Blessings. Yeah, enjoy that vacation.
Have a good week.
Thank you for your service, Paul.
Yep. We'll see you later this evening. Bye.
Oh.